Welcome to Amazon Ads Raw Daily with your host, Alex.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of New Frontier. Today, I am solo. Max is not here with me, but I have a very, very interesting guest with me. And I'm really excited to introduce him. He was the Senior Director of Marketing and Amazon Ads at Thrasio, so a really interesting company. He also runs a YouTube channel called Amazon Ads Raw. And for years, he was leading the ads team at SellerX, another big aggregator. He's also a strategic product advisor for a fantastic software tool called My Real Profit. And he's just generally I would say, a little bit of an ads geek. This is how I actually stumbled the first time and met him. It was through his really insightful LinkedIn comments on anything to do with Amazon advertising. So without further ado, I want to get on stage Alexander Swade.
Hey
Hi,
everyone.
Alex.
Hey everyone. Hey Joe. Thanks for inviting me. I'm very excited for the show today.
Cool. I'm excited too, and I'm super interested to talk to you about so many things to do with advertising, and I'm sure our listeners are also going to. So, firstly, I would really love to understand a little bit about your journey to Thrasio. Like, how did you end up working for, if I'm not wrong, the biggest at the time aggregator in the space?
Very good point at the time. Since then, much things have happened. So the journey, as you said, I'm kind of a PPC geek, data nerd. I would say I'm in the past years I've transitioned more into a data analytics kind of geek. I'm very much into analytics and creating charts and kind of getting insights from data and creating actionable things from that. But it all started with joining KW Commerce, which was the biggest Amazon seller in Germany back at the time. After I transitioned over to Thrasio in 2021, they became Seller X. So they got bought or kind of fusioned with Seller X. So it all actually started with Google Ads and an agency, and then I moved to doing Amazon Ads in 2019 because I thought it's like a super interesting new development going on. Amazon Ads was like a pretty new in Germany, at least. There was not many companies doing it, and I thought I need kind of a new challenge coming from Google Ads and Meta and Google Analytics and this kind of world. And I joined KW Commerce, and this was kind of a very good training ground for me to get to Thrasio, because from there I started to do LinkedIn posts and stuff like that. And then, I had somebody that worked for KW Commerce, and he kind of made an introduction to the CMO or the VP of marketing. We had a call, and he said, like, okay, I want to hire you. You're going to lead the European team, and we're going to build this together. So this was kind of the journey. So it was a little bit of luck, I would say. Also a little bit of, I always wanted to work for the best companies. And when I worked for KW Commerce, which were the biggest, and they had the ambition to become the best marketplace seller in the world, I had already this feeling, hey, I also want to be the best. And then I heard from Thrasio, and I heard, wow, they obviously seem to be the best in what they do back in the time, and I wanted to work for them. That's kind of how I ended up there.
Fair enough. And can you tell a little bit for our listeners, what was your role at Thrasio at the time?
So initially I joined as a director for European marketing. So the idea was to build a European hub in Berlin, because Berlin is like a melting pot of multiple cultures and languages, and everyone kind of comes together in Berlin. So we set up an office there. I was like the third person hired in Germany, or the fourth person or something like that. And with me, we opened up the office, and my role was basically just European marketing, manage the European brands, or manage the brands that are selling in Europe together with my team. So I hired a bunch of people, and we started working on those brands and those accounts, which was a huge amount back at the time. I think we had like I don't know, at least 80 brands or something like that are purely European based, and then a few that were kind of selling mainly in US, but they are coming over to Europe because the strategy back then was like growing internationally and stuff like that. And so we had a bunch of stuff to do in the beginning. And yeah, that's kind of the first position. And then within Fresio, we made good progress. The team was well selected, I would say. I hired a bunch of very good people. We trained them very good. I think also the team spirit in Fresio, in our team, was very, very good. My approach is always to, teach people, get them interested in learning. I'm a very curious person. I love learning since I don't know, since I'm 15 or whatever. I discovered, hey, learning about the world, there's so much stuff going on that I don't know about, and this is kind of interesting for me, just curiosity. And my team was built around this kind of curiosity and learning thing. We had like daily meetings where it was all about what is your daily learning? What have you learned? Even if it's like just a small thing. Hey, I learned there is a new button. Hey, I learned when you do this, you can do that. And everyone was sharing these learnings, and together you grow. And over time, Fresio and the leadership team or the management team above me realized, hey, Alex has built a really strong team. They're very motivated. They're very good at what they do. And so we got new responsibilities. We took over US markets, worldwide markets. And yeah, at the end, we had the biggest brands portfolio to manage. So was quite a ride.
Yeah, I bet this is I can imagine it's like quite a step up as well. So actually let's drill a little bit on that, because it's one thing to like manage the advertising and marketing for one brand. That's already kind of a mouthful. But to manage it for 80 plus and then to switch to the US, which is obviously even bigger pond, like how did you go about structuring the team, and like how did you end up essentially creating some of the processes that made this an efficient operation?
Yeah, very good question. So I think there's a few nuances I want to touch on. How to build a good team. First of all, I think what I learned over the last 10 years is don't just hire the same kind of personality people, traits, whatever. This is what I've done at the agency when I was like leading the department in an agency a couple of years ago. I hired one kind of person that I think is like good for the job, and then everybody was kind of the same. Later on, I realized, hey, it's actually good if not everyone is really good at this, but people are also good at this, and then some other people are good at this, and then you also need some people that are good at just caring about the other people and making, bringing joy and fun. So one aspect was kind of bring these different kind of people together and create one common vision. And the vision was, we gonna be the best advertising team in the world. This is our North Star. And if everybody aligns in this vision, then you already have kind of a strong motivation. Another thing that helped was we were all in the Berlin hub in the office. So seeing people face to face actually helps foster real trust and relationships. And from that, you can imagine that people are, they can eventually bring more to the table, because when I can trust them, they can trust me. I'm open to share, also the things I'm not good at or the things I'm failing at, and they can open up to me as their manager as well. It creates a really safe environment where everybody can just give their best, and if they fail, it's not a problem. So this is like a more let's say more from a mentality standpoint, or like a not from processes. To scale 80 brands across different countries is a very much interesting approach, which I call large scale operations. This is something I learned in the agency when we worked on accounts like Airbnb. They were like across all Europe. We had like millions of campaigns. And this is where I learned, hey, what is actually large scale operations? This means you have thousands of, in our case, ASINs. You have a multitude of markets where you're at. You have millions of campaigns. We had millions, really. It was like a huge load of campaigns. And you need to create processes that help you maintain the overview, what is happening. So one really essential thing was just the data, Power BI, that gives us all the data that we can aggregate, look at country level, look at brand level, look at ASIN level, look at parent ASIN level, look at campaign types, look at even search terms. Like having the ability to, drill down into every kind of aspect from top level to a very granular level is very helpful. And from there, you also start building tools that help you to uncover gaps, for example. Which brand is eventually selling in a country that is not having any ads live? Where do we miss sponsor brand campaigns? Where do we miss sponsor display campaigns? So it's very basic in the beginning. You start just like looking for gaps. Do I have like all the campaign types active on all the brands? Do I have all the ASINs advertised that are getting revenue and that should be advertised? So you start with these kind of things, and then from there you go deeper and deeper and kind of create more automated processes, something like alerts that help you kind of uncover issues when you run low on stock, alerts that give you some insight when you're not having the buy box, for example, and you should kind of pause down your sponsor brand campaigns because they still deliver even if you don't have the buy box. So this is like lots of different processes that we've built over the time, lots of tools that helped us also kind of stay ahead of this. Obviously, we have had a bid management tool. We also developed internal tools at Thrasio that helped us, do essentially bulk operations at scale. So when you do Amazon ads, you probably know that the fastest way to do any changes in an account is the bulk sheet. You download this thing, you change something, you can create campaigns there. The problem is if you have 80 accounts, or we even had, we had 80 brands and 10 countries. So it's many accounts. It gets really tedious to download each bulk sheet in each country and to change something. So we built a tool that is actually doing that for us over the API. So we download the stuff across all the accounts. I can say, hey, give me all my gifting keywords from all the brands and all the countries. Give me all the gifting keywords, and now I want to push them because now it's gifting season in Q4. Now I want to give them a higher bid. And this is what we internally built and what helped us scale advertising operations into like all these angles. But there's much more things that we've built around processes, but it would take like 2 hours just to explain all these different things that we had.
It's absolutely fascinating. So like, a large team with a lot of automation, a lot of custom made tools, like it sounds amazing. Actually, a lot of questions from that. The first question is, I guess when you have 80 brands, let's say, I would say that I'll pick that number because I'm sure it was much more by the end, but like 80 brands, like 10 different markets. A lot of the conversation around aggregators has been around the fact that they take some of the brands and they don't necessarily get under the skin of what made these brands so successful. And then they aggregate them, but they lose the magic sauce. So how did you manage to like actually really get under the skin, or just understand a little more in depth these 80 brands across these markets? Or was it kind of just more trying to get the best out of a very large task?
I think it was more like the last part. So over the years, I've realized one thing, that it sounds interesting to just aggregate everything and run everything through the same process, kind of, right? So from sourcing to advertising to supply chain, whatever, everything is kind of made equal, or try to make equal, to have the process as slim and as lean as possible. However, when you work on so many brands, you will realize they all are different. Essentially, every brand is kind of different. There might be some brands that are more similar than others. But if you sell, like Thrasio, in many different categories, and you will quickly realize, hey, not everything is kind of the same. Some products need to be how is this called? Like they're kind of kitted in the warehouse. Some products come directly from the sourcing. Some products, it's like every aspect is another variable that eventually needs a slightly different approach. Some brands just have one product, and you cannot treat them similarly to a brand that has 100 parents with another 100 childs or something like that. So you need slightly different approach for the brands that are heavy on childs, slightly different approach for the brands that are low on. Are you having the bestseller, or are you not? Or are you just competing for the bestseller? You know, all of these variables are different, and I think this is kind of where the aggregation model, at least for Fraser and maybe some others, has been challenging, because the idea was, let's just buy all these amazing brands and we create one process that kind of rules them all. And this has been, at least in my experience, has been very, 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 very hard. Also from an advertising perspective, the US market, even though you have like the same instruments, it's the same campaign types, you use the same, the same methodology, you use maybe an ACOS target, you use a ceiling or whatever. Markets are different. You have different conversion rates, you have different volumes of traffic. When I have 10,000 campaigns in the US, maybe I cannot replicate the same campaign structure in Europe as well, because Europe is much, much smaller per country, and you need a slightly different structure from the campaigns. And this is like very hard when you want to try to kind of create for each brand their own kind of world and their own processes. Then the aggregation model doesn't work, in my opinion. So I think for it to work, you would need to focus maybe on a category. Let's say you just focus on beauty, and you're not going into all the other categories, or you just focus on dog or whatever, kind of very targeted, very niche, and then you own a couple of brands, and they're all kind of having different kind of products, but they're also having some similarities in their supply chain, in their distribution, merchandising, whatever. Then I think it can work better. Yeah.
So as someone who has worked for aggregators for quite a while, like, what is your wild prediction about where this niche is going? Like, how do you see them developing or sustaining in the next, let's say, 5 years?
Good question. So I think what happened in the past is already some consolidation, like some aggregators buy some other aggregators, or aggregators get dissolved and sell their brands and get more focused on, the individual brand kind of management, and being like instead of being this kind of one corporate that runs everything through the same process, having a handful of brands that you can individually manage and have individual processes. I think there's also, over the past years, many Amazon sellers have struggled. Inflation was like a big thing 2 years ago. Supply chain was a big thing 3 years ago. So every year there has been challenges. Amazon is increasing their fees, so there's margin compression. So there's always some challenges, would make it, compared to when aggregation model, at least for the e-commerce scene started, makes it very challenging to kind of just continue. However, there are still new Amazon brands popping up. These sellers or these founders, they still want to sell their brand at some point, and either it's going to be bought from a private equity or maybe from an aggregator. So there's still optionality for aggregators to exist. However, I think like the model, like the Frasio model, like just getting all the brands from all the different angles and kind of create one process, seems not to have worked, and I'm not sure if this would work in the future. So I think you need much more, individual kind of processes, which makes it harder to kind of scale in that way. So I'm not sure how 5 years from now will look like, but definitely.
Yeah, no, fair enough. But have you noticed, like, at least I've seen in the space, a sort of a new type of aggregator. I wouldn't call it an aggregator. It's a completely different thing, which is, I guess, large scale Amazon sellers who are now going and buying brands and consolidating them under like one company. Like, have you noticed this, and like, what is your thought on this model?
I mean, M&A happens all the time. Whether it's being very public, like with the aggregator space, this was like a very public thing because there was so much money being poured into these companies. And like buying brands and buying eventually your competitors. Let's assume you're a big seller and you own a category. This is essentially what all these big CPG companies, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, what they do every day. or maybe not every day, but every week or every month. They own certain categories, and when there's a new company popping up that is kind of stealing enough market share, and they cannot kind of, they have not enough power to work against them, they buy them. So this is happening all the time on Amazon, off Amazon. And I think this is just like the natural flow of businesses, kind of. You want to be, when you set up a brand, I think you have two kind of exit choices. Either you become the leading category, the leading category seller, which is super hard, or you become at least big enough and annoying enough that the competitor is buying you. And they say, hey, you've done a very good job, but now we integrate you into our brand, kind of. And then, so.
Yeah, I am very curious because you guys had, or like Thrasio had, a really significant spending power in terms of Amazon advertising. Did you guys, because obviously, yeah, you are like 80 brands, you are thousands of brands spending on Amazon. Did Amazon give you any sort of special treatment? Did you guys have a very direct relationship with Amazon, and did they create specific programs or anything around that for you guys?
Yes. The thing is, no matter where you are, when you spend big enough, you get a premium treatment. So at the time, let's say at our peak, we had a team at Amazon Ads that helped us. Usually you have like sales people. So it's everywhere, it's the same. Either it's Google, Meta, or Amazon. You usually get a rep. The more you spend, the better the rep. The more time he invests, the less clients he has. In Google, it's called large customer sales and medium customer sales and whatever. The higher you get, the more premium you get invited to events and stuff like that. So this is happening everywhere. It's not Amazon Ads only. And we had a very good person. Usually what happens on these reps and these people, they change. Every year you get a new person. They rotate through the clients and whatever. And their job usually is to make you spend more. This is my opinion. They are salespersons. Their job is, hey, you have not used SD or DSP enough. Maybe we can find a use case where you can spend a little more. So their incentive is always for you to increase your budget and increase your spend. And they will also come up with betas and stuff like that. So when AMC was not a thing that everyone was talking about, like, I don't know, 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago, we were amongst the first companies that had access to AMC, and we also had our own AMC entity with all the accounts and all the brands, like an aggregation entity and stuff like that. So they made things possible for us that might not be possible for others. One like very direct example is in an account you usually have a campaign limit that is 10,000 campaigns. Our biggest account had over 500,000 campaigns, and
Oh my God.
there was a time where we almost every month we needed to reach out to our rep and say, hey, can we please increase the campaign limit? And then he talked to the engineering team or whatever and increased it. So this is like very direct, helpful things we got from them. And he was also, he was actually a really nice guy. He stayed with like 3 or 4 years with us almost. And he was less salesy. He helped us really uncover some of the insights that we were like testing. So he was, I think this was like 3 years ago, we found out that product targeting, how product targeting kind of works. So we had this theory. Now everybody knows it 3 years later. Everybody know how product targeting works. But back then, nobody really understood it. Everybody was thinking product targeting at Amazon puts your ads on the product detail page. That was not the case. It was always on the SERP. And we realized that with our analytical tool set, and we kind of talked with him, and he gave us like very good insights into how it actually works in the backend. He said like, yeah, if that is organically ranking on number 1 and you're targeting that product, then your ad is eligible to be placed on this placement. And we've thought like, oh, this is really, really helpful, because this is the insights that actually lets us understand the algorithm better and how it works, and kind of let us come up with strategies that are much more unique and much more advanced than anybody else can do at the time.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So you guys got a lot of the secret sauce directly from Amazon. Did you guys have like a specific data that is not widely available that they were like kind of providing for you?
Amazon is also like not only Amazon but also Google. They give you sometimes like market insights and stuff like that. So they come up with like presentations that compare you to competitors, similar to how you see it in the brand metrics. I think it's called brand metrics inside the ad console. You have some compared to your top 25 percentile peers and stuff like that. But they were much more granular and much more on the individual brands, and you could see your market share and your conversion rates and stuff like that. So they would produce these kind of things to tell you in the end, hey, look, this is you. This is your competitor. They spend 100,000 per month on DSP, and you just 10,000. But this is like the data they had is something that you would not get from Amazon anyways, not anywhere else. So this was insightful and sometimes even helpful. But you need to understand, and you will understand this over time, that their incentive is most of the time a little bit driven by, look at these other guys, what they are spending. Look at Procter & Gamble, how much they spend on TV advertising. Maybe you want to do a little bit on sponsored TV as well. So, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about, because I guess a lot of what you had to do is with so many people and so many brands, you have to do a lot of automation. So let's talk about large scale automations and sort of like how do you define them and what are some of the large scale automations that you guys implemented in your team?
Yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, large scale for me means it's across many different campaigns, many different ASINs, maybe many different brands and campaigns. So if you just have one brand and one ASIN, or maybe 10 ASINs, this is not large scale. Large scale for me means it's a very complex setup, and you need to find processes that can work for all of them somehow. We discussed that this might not be the best if you just have one process for everything, but this is essentially what you need to do to start with. You need to come up with something that can help you to run 80, 200, whatever it is, brands across multiple things. One really essential thing for Amazon Ads is a bid management and budget management tool. We still use Quartile for most of the time. We developed with Quartile together many of their features, many of their large scale features. We had like bi-weekly meetings with the engineering team in the beginning where we said, hey, we need this, can you do this, and this would be good. So, and they developed with us the new features because we were kind of the prime client for them at the beginning. This has been a completely different story, but in the beginning it was like this, and it was kind of cool to have such an impact. But we also built, like I said, our own tools, something that is like a bulk automation tool where you can just push bids across many different brands on the same keyword, or where you can just say, okay, this ASIN, and now I want to push bids for this ASIN, and this ASIN is in Germany, in UK, in France, and in the US. It's the same ASIN. So I want to push bids for that. This was also something we developed in-house. We had some very good team members that were also very good with Python and like building scripts. So we had like different tools built internally that we used, like an Ngram analysis tool, or tools that worked around the bulk sheets, campaign creation tools, trimming down bulk sheets, which usually were super large, this kind of stuff. Tools that helped us scale video ads, for example, where we had like internal tools created with Airtable that worked together with the creative team, where we had like built systems that took the data from Amazon, aggregated that on the creative level, because inside Amazon you have it on the brand level or whatever, but we wanted to see how is each creative performing. And let's say I have this across many different campaigns. You need to have a place where you are aggregating the data to see if this creative on this keyword set is performing better than this creative on this other keyword set. So we had like a system which would talk from the API to Airtable. Airtable would talk to the creative team. They would get the informations. They would create new creatives, videos, and images before there was AI, this was all kind of, manually created processes that were all somewhat automated. We also had at the time, we had a huge data engineering team and a data science team. We built our own bid management tool for 1.5 years until we said, hey, this is not going to happen anymore. But yeah, it was fascinating. Yeah.
Wow. And actually, I want to maybe take it from the sort of the level of Thrasio, which is huge, and maybe take it to a more practicable level of, like, let's say, a larger seller. What would you say, like, from all of this sort of like landscape of different tools and automations that you have done for like hundreds of brands, if you had to, like, let's say, build 3 or 5 little tools that would really ramp up the game of an Amazon seller right now from an advertising or any other point of view, what would you say these would be?
Very good question. That makes it more applicable to other people. So I think one thing I'm always like looking for, also when I look at accounts or something like that, is understanding what works, what doesn't work. So the first thing you should have is kind of a good reporting tool. Don't rely just on downloading the reports, the ad console, and put them into an Excel or a Google Doc, not Google, a Google spreadsheet. Get some sort of reporting tool that allows you to slice and dice the data in different ways, especially for the most granular view, search terms. Because what some people don't understand is your keyword is not your search term, and customers are using search terms, and your keyword is just the middleman of triggering that search term. And depending on if you're on a sponsor product or sponsor brand campaign, a phrase match will work different, and they will trigger different search terms. And kind of coming from this, just like a basic reporting tool is number one. Not a basic, but a reporting tool that allows you to aggregate data on certain levels. Search terms is a good one. Placements is another good one. Campaign types is another good one. And then, keywords or targetings, a third good like aggregation thing. From an automation perspective, it depends on the size. If you're just like a one brand, couple of ASINs and maybe 100 campaigns, I don't think that you need an automation tool. This might be a little bit controversial. Automation for bids and budgets. This might be controversial because everyone says, hey, you need a bid automation tool, whatever. If you have enough time, let's say twice or 3 times a week to download your bulk sheet, go through last 30 days or last 60 days or last 13, depends on your volume and stuff like that. You can set your bids yourself. And for some reasons, this even makes sense to not have a bid management tool because they will change it every day. They will, and bid management tools, they have one thing. Most of them have one thing in common. Either they are a black box, so they are automating towards a certain goal that you cannot 100% kind of adjust. You can say, hey, this is my ACOS goal, but maybe for this campaign I want to be ranking. Maybe for this campaign I want to be profitable. For this campaign I want to sell through because this is a long inventory ASIN, and you need different approaches for a different segment of your portfolio of your ASINs. And then it gets very hard with bid management tools because either they have like a one kind rules all automation, or they have like very complex rule systems that are interacting with each other. So yeah, get a process for working with bulk sheets. If you're very small, if you're medium, get some bid and budget automation tool that helps you scale this at a certain amount of campaigns. You cannot handle it. If you're a one-man show, like just a seller, maybe you need to get some help with PPC, or you get an automation tool that helps you. Another thing is for videos and creatives. Nowadays, there's fantastic AI tools out there that can help you get the job done. We have at Thrasio, we have experimented with multiple tools. Like 2 years ago, when like Midjourney released I think it was version 4 or something like that. This was like the first time when I thought like, oh man, these images look actually pretty good, pretty realistic. Maybe we can use them to create lifestyle images for our brands. A year later, Amazon came out with their own tool for image generation. and since then everything has evolved. Video is now a thing that looks really good, and stuff like that. So get a tool that helps you get the creative, because if you're a brand, you need to get creatives. You need, when we talk about scaling a brand, you nowadays I feel that the SERP is very much crowded and very much competitive. And if you want to grow your brand and you have a real brand, you need to get external traffic. Just the traffic through sponsored products and sponsored brands and maybe sponsored display isn't enough, in my opinion. You need to get external eyeballs, and usually you need to get them from social. So Meta, TikTok, whatever your target audience is, and so on. And for those, you need creatives at scale. You need so much creatives that you need to find some sort of tool or process that help you scale creatives like lifestyle images or UGC content, or even.
So actually, let's just chat about this, because it's a really interesting one. So the first thing I guess I want to ask you is around how much of what you guys did in terms of your strategy for your Amazon brand at Thrasio was like, well, basically was external traffic. Like, how big was that impact? That's question number one. Question number two is, how much did AI generated content, especially in the last, let's say, year, was sort of what you actually put out?
Yeah. So all the brands had external traffic via affiliate, via Google Ads, some even via Meta, or lots of them also via Meta. Many, or also lots, also via TikTok. We also tried Reddit and all of these other like more niche kind of platforms to see where it performs. The brands which work the best usually had very strong influencer traffic that either came from TikTok or from Instagram as well. So external traffic is, in my opinion, very important to grow your brand awareness, meaning your
was
branded
there a channel
searches.
that was over indexing in terms of performance?
I think like in terms of performance, influencer is like work very well for the right brands. Let's say it like that. Not every brand worked really well with influencers. Also, it's very hard to get like the right influencers on smaller brands. If you have a big brand and it's a bestseller in the category for very long, and the people love the product, and the product also sells really well, then influencers are more easy to get, and also the bigger influencers, and then you can really scale with them. If you have like a smaller brand, sometimes it didn't work out with the influencers at all. We paid more than we made revenue. But I think influencer traffic is like super important, and was like from an efficiency perspective very good. And also TikTok has like, there's two avenues you can go on TikTok ads, which I think is not, didn't work for us ideal, meaning you just put ads on TikTok and drive it to Amazon. The better way is using affiliates on TikTok that promote your brand, and then people start searching your brand on Amazon, or even run a TikTok shop, and then people buy on the TikTok shop. But everything has spillover effects. When you have a D2C and a TikTok shop and an Amazon shop, and you just run Meta to D2C, you will also see branded searches appearing on Amazon, even if you don't do anything much on Amazon, because people are, I'm on all these platforms. I'm not just on Amazon. I'm also on. I'm not on Instagram, but let's assume I would be on Instagram. And then I would see this, and then I would eventually search on Amazon, because people just search on Amazon for products and brands. And all of these things have spillover effects. And we saw this very, very strongly at, we had one brand that was like huge on TikTok shop. We was like, this was like very, very much the beginning, end of 2023 or something like that. It really popped on TikTok shop. And we had so much spillover to Amazon that we immediately had a bestseller, and we kept the bestseller on Amazon as well for a highly competitive market. And this is, so I think social, to answer your question, social is like, should be over-indexed in my opinion. Google search is something that everybody can easily do and should do, because it's kind of similar. You can, just get another maybe 10% of additional sales through Google Ads, and then really try social for branded searches. Because what I see, as I said, it's super competitive. The SERP is super competitive, and when you look at certain niches, you will understand that branded searches are actually the main driver for category growth. It's not that people are searching more for the generic keyword; they start searching for the individual brands. And you cannot create this brand awareness with sponsored product campaigns. This is not what drives branded searches. Branded searches come through social ads, affiliate marketing, YouTube, TV, whatever, out of home or retail listings. Now I've completely forgot your second question.
The second question. Sorry, this is such an interesting discussion. I have so many questions for you, but the second question was specifically around AI generated content and like how much of your, I guess, imagery or ads were coming from, let's say, Midjourney or any other AI tools.
Yeah, apparently the truth is not too much. To be very honest, when everything started, we immediately tried to, this was like also Thrasio was still at a very good, let's say, at a very good pace 2 years ago, and we were like immediately kind of looking for ways to implement these kind of things, kind of getting ChatGPT to create prompts. From the prompts, put it into Midjourney, from Midjourney, get it into, and kind of create an Airtable that kind of automates this whole flow. And then you just download the image and put it into the campaigns. However, the tools were not as much advanced as they are nowadays. So the image output was, you could use them for lifestyle images, but there was not, back in like 2 years ago, there was not, I didn't found anything where I could create a lifestyle image with a real product, like your actual product on top of it. Unless you obviously create the lifestyle image and then you take the product and you kind of use another tool to just cut and paste. I think nowadays there's more tools out there where you can actually use a product image. It creates like a lifestyle background and it's getting merged. Also, Amazon is doing this with the products, and I think not all the results look amazing from Amazon, but they are getting there. At the beginning, I was like I was saying, hey, is this a joke, Amazon, what you brought out here?
I remember. I saw that post of yours. You were like, I think it was the Christmas, one of the Christmas posts on Amazon. It was so ridiculous.
It really didn't make any sense. They were like all hyped up with this on their conference, and I immediately tried it. I had like a Google Doc with, I don't know, I had 20 different pictures or whatever. I showed it to my team and I said, like, look, not even one thing makes any sense. Either the size of the product is completely off, or the setting, like putting a bike on a tree or something like that, doesn't make any sense. However, over the time, this got better. This got better, and now you can actually use it. And I've just a couple of weeks ago, I used it again to create lifestyle images, and it looked nice. The product made sense. The dimension makes sense. So I think things have evolved, and it's now easier than ever. But we never really implemented those kind of video or things at scale. We used it here and there, for one brand. We created like a very funny, very cool Christmas pictures with, Santa using a glow-in-the-dark basketball and dunking it, and like, some of these like one-off things we did, and they look good, but we didn't really have a good scale. But maybe you have other experiences.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a slow one, and I think for like from an image point of view, obviously, I can't miss to like call out Max's tool Ecom10, which is one of the first ones that came out in the market in terms of AI generated images with products. But yeah, I think the technology is now getting really to the point where it's like really, really good. But obviously, with most large language models, they started with the premise of being language. Really good at language. So I think anything to do with language is still like brilliant and can be like tailored a lot. And I think now we're getting to the point where image and video is catching up as well. So yeah. Question for you, which is aside from the images, did you use any other AI tools, or like any other AI automations across your brands?
So what we used also right from the beginning was like ChatGPT for headline creation, stuff like that. So this always worked. You said, hey, give me a headline around these keywords. This is my length. This make it funny or make it like that, and give me 10 examples. Use emojis or not if you run Amazon posts. So on Amazon posts, you can be a little bit more creative with the captions, and you also have more length available. So for those things, we use it, and I would even say we use it at scale. However, outside of that, we didn't have like a real AI. When I would say AI is for me, so everything that I consider AI nowadays is like these large, kind of based on these large language models, which are like a probability kind of model. This is what I would say AI. Some people would even say that machine learning and kind of automations is AI. And when you consider this AI, then obviously we also had, as I mentioned, like a bidding tool that digested lots of data pieces, external competitive insights, our internal insights, this kind of angle, organic rankings, whatever, and kind of created bids based on our goals. So you could say this is AI. However, the reality is it's just machine learning, just like data science stuff that is not based on a probability or large language model. So we at Frezio, we never implemented this at scale. We just experimented with different angles around creatives, I would say, but never at scale. No.
And actually, I want to go back to like the bid automation tools. Like this is a question that always pops up whenever there is a group of people talking about Amazon advertising. And obviously, you guys were using Quartile, but like, how would you evaluate the landscape in terms of bidding tools? And like, obviously, now that you're not with Thrasio, would you still go with Quartile, or is there other tools on the market that you think are superior? Obviously, no like beef with your buddies at Quartile, but like an objective view of like what do you see in terms of the landscape?
Yeah, the interesting thing is I probably have tested all of these tools at least once over my Amazon career. At KW Commerce, I already tested like a couple of those, let's say, more European-based tools. At Frezio, we also tested, besides Quartile, which was the tool that was already running when I joined, we also tested PackView, we tested IntentWise, we tested M19, we tested Perpetua. So we basically always had an approach for let's challenge the status quo and let's not be happy with how everything is. Let's see what we can do with other things. Our realization over the time was like, oh, this is really good for this. This is really good for this. Maybe we can use this for this. None of the tools back in the time where we tested a lot, 2021, 2022, had like everything in a place where we would say, hey, this all makes sense. Quartile was back in the day just a black box AI machine. They later introduced rule-based adjustments as well, where you could kind of create your own rules. PackView, however, was back at the time just a rule engine. You could just create rules. They then later introduced like an ACOS automation AI or like machine learning. So all the tools had their, pros and cons. Quartile is automatically creating campaigns. PackView was not creating campaigns. Perpetua was creating. So it's like, in the end, I think everybody needs to think for themselves, what is important for me? Do I need campaign expansion? Does the tool needs to create campaigns itself? Or can I do this manually? Do I just want to have a tool where I put in my ACOS target and then the tool does everything alone? Or do I want to be more hands-on and kind of get, create my own rules eventually, say, hey, please do this or please do that. So it depends a little bit on your own situation, which tool works best. Most tools nowadays seem to go for this hybrid approach where you have like an automation, but you also have the option to create custom rules on top of that, which which I like a lot because it allows you to be more flexible with certain subsets and segments of your campaigns. Like I said, maybe you have one ASIN that you need ranking on. For this, I create a rule: please rank organically number one. The other one is already the bestseller, so maybe I want to don't push too much ads on this. The other one is long inventory. I want to push heavy on that because I need to get through the long storage fee. And nowadays, I think most of these tools are offering those things. Some of the tools are more, let's say, corporate and enterprise from a payment perspective. Some take like 2 or 3% of your ad spend. Some are more or less price intense. So I'd say for sellers that don't have a tool yet, kind of check out what is there in the market. There's a couple of good people like David Zimmerman, for example. If you want to check out him, he's always doing like his review of different tools. He has done a review of the PPC tools where he says like, I think this is ranked number 1, this is ranked number 2. Just go through the top 10, maybe check out the pricing, talk with these people, and then test it out and see what works for you. In the end, we were at a point 2 years ago where we said we need our own tool. None of the tools can do what we really want to do because the tools don't have the insights that we have. The tool doesn't see our supply chain, and if we are long inventory in 3PLs, the tools you connect to Amazon only sees the Amazon world. They don't see your retail. They don't see your D2C. They don't see your supply chain. And depending on your company and your size and your complexity of operations, you might even need your own tool. And this is what you kind of need to ask yourself: where am I? What kind of budget do I have? What do I need? And
yeah. Actually, this is a really interesting question I have been pondering. So you mentioned about insights, and you absolutely would have had so much data at your disposal, so many different categories, so many different markets. If you can, like, can you pinpoint some of the really aha insights and moments of like looking through all of this data and understanding, for example, like, are there any insight that you really saw from the data in terms of what is moving organic rank, what is like influencing really like sort of like bigger insight nuggets that are not always possible for people to understand when they're just running one brand, but you've seen as a pattern across a lot of different brands?
The thing is, what I at least realized over the time is you're always trying to find these nuggets, to find these valuable insights that nobody else has. However, so there are maybe some of these that we found, and I can touch base on them maybe a little bit. But one thing I also realized is that Amazon and selling on Amazon has so many variables. There's not only your own ASIN and your ratings and your price and Amazon testing badges and whatnot. There's also all the competitions. Do they run a 7-day deal or not a 7-day deal? What do they do with pricing? Is there new competitors coming in? How is my keyword universe shifting from, Amazon also changes suggested search terms. I type in puppy bed, and then the suggestion is maybe puppy bed cozy. But last year it was puppy bed whatever, big. Amazon is changing a lot. The competitive landscape is changing a lot. So every time we are running large scale tests where we are kind of trying to figure out what is actually working, what is not working, there's so many variables that is really, really hard, even if you have 200 brands, to kind of come to one kind of insight that is like, okay, this is working, this is not working. What we found back in the days, what we did test it is, all of our brands were running on branded search terms, and we were pushing branded search terms through the keywords a lot. Then we tested, hey, what if we negate our own branded terms and we pause branded campaigns? How big of an impact is actually that from a ranking perspective, from a profitability perspective? We tested this over many brands, and we realized, wow, first of all, we save 10% of our spend, but our profit is actually staying rather flat. So we are not seeing an impact on profit. Like profit from ads is flat, but 10% less spent, so we make more total profit. So back in the time, we thought this is like a real gold nugget. So no, don't do any branded ads. A couple months later, we realized, hey, this was actually wrong from us, because now competitors are actually stealing our market share. And on our own branded terms, there's a competitor that looks exactly like us. Maybe it's even the same product, I don't know. And they are getting 50% of the purchase share. So this is what we then found through SQP data, where we kind of realized, hey, we realized it on one brand. There was one product where the competitor even had the Amazon Choice badge for our branded term.
Oh, shit.
And this was kind of, this was first we found the nugget. We thought it was a nugget. Then we later realized, hey, we were a little bit wrong about this assumption. So, so there's many discussions around what is helping you to rank organically better. My view on this is, first of all, sponsored product campaigns is obviously driving unit velocity. Higher unit velocity on keywords will also drive organic rankings. If you get better bestseller ranks across the category, so your whole subcategory bestseller rank or the main category bestseller rank is going up, this will have spillover effect on all of your organic rankings as well. So you should see slight improvement there as well. We try to isolate the effect from sponsored display and sponsored brand campaigns and even Google Ads campaigns. However, isolating this is really tough. Because you cannot do an A/B test. You can only do like, in this week, I'm not running sponsored brands, and in this week I run it. And then you don't have a proper A/B test. You just compare one week with another week. And there's always some volatility. And then you do this across 10 different brands, and then something is out of stock, something is not out of stock. And the reality is we didn't have so many gold nuggets that were that helped us, kind of
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, I would probably talk to you for another hour, but we are at the hour. But I want to ask you essentially another question, which is, what is next? What is kind of like coming up for you? Like, how do you see your time after Thrasio? Like, what are your plans?
So there's many interesting opportunities ahead of me. So first of all, I'm very thankful for the time at Thrasio, because I learned a lot. Going through a period of high growth, and also the other period of kind of not growing at all and kind of decreasing, made me, I think, more resilient in life and kind of teach me some really valuable lessons. Also, working with people at a level, at some point we worked on a level at Thrasio which was like amazing. I felt we rule the world. This was kind of my feeling, and this is like I'm super grateful for this. And so up next, there's a couple of opportunities for me. I think right now I want to focus on my YouTube channel a little bit. I have a small YouTube channel. I'm doing like education around Amazon ads. I want to do a little bit more, because this is just what I enjoy, kind of doing a little bit of education. Not too much. I'm not too much. I had a podcast where I did like daily episodes and daily recordings, and this was a little bit too much. Now I want to do maybe once a week a video or something like that. So I want to continue educating people around advertising. I want to help brands and companies succeed on Amazon. I think I've seen a lot at Thrasio. I learned a lot. I know how some things can work, how some things cannot work. And so I want to continue helping brands and companies in this. But I also want to kind of, get my scope a little broader. I'm very much curious, I'm not just a PPC person. I'm also, like I said, very much into data analytics, into tools, and into tech. So I want to broaden my scope and kind of see what kind of opportunities arise there. Maybe I build a own tool, or I just like continue building the tool at my Reprofit. Obviously, I'm doing that now still. So yeah.
Awesome. And if people want to get in touch with you, apart from following your YouTube channel, which we're going to link in the podcast, how can they do so?
The best way is LinkedIn. I'm a as I said, I'm not on Instagram. I'm not on TikTok. The only social media I'm really active at is LinkedIn. I'm there every day. So if you want to reach out, just shoot me a message there, connect with me. This is kind of where where I'm most of the time and where people can easily connect.
Yeah, we'll absolutely link that as well. But just for myself, it was super interesting conversation. Thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you very much, Joe, for having me, and have a wonderful day.
You too.
Thank you for listening to Amazon Ads Raw Daily. And remember to stay curious.